Proper mask style. Let's rock this joint.
Let's rock this. What a way to start the podcast.
Yeah.
What's going on, G? What's going on, man?
Man, all good. No, nothing like the crazy week prior with that one specific day, but all good. All good this week. Just pretty chilling.
Good. I like it. No. Got Avengers in the name, but no heroic duties this week. No, duty's not called you this week just yet.
Yeah, exactly, man. Haven't needed it.
Bit of downtime. Uploaded my info to your new phone, and just like, what do superheroes do on their day off? Let me know, G.
Yeah. Upload. Yeah, get an upgraded phone, and start working on getting all the shit transferred onto it, man. It's a fucking long ass process. Like, why does it have to take so long?
It reminds me of those adverts that they made for Thor when he's like going to the office. He's like, "Hello, how are you, mortals?" And he's like riding the scooter around the office and like picking on people legit. Like just at home, like nothing needs doing today. I'm just gonna sit on my balcony and sip my coffee and.
Bro, that's actually how it goes down. It's like, you said that, and I was like, yeah, but I make myself a nice cup of coffee when I wake up. I go outside on the balcony, just get some natural light in. I take a drink, and I'm good. That's my day getting started.
I love it. Day in the life of a part-time superhero, or like on-call superhero.
On call, yeah, exactly. Always on call. Not doing much.
Yeah. Duty calls. You just shine that evolve, or shine the G Sandu emblem into the sky, and he's just like, who needs me?
Exactly. Yeah, there's some LED lights in there as well. Just stick my chest out, blast it into the sky. It gets about 2 feet away, man. No one sees shit.
Just the arc reactors.
Yeah. Exactly. What's been cracking, man? What about you?
Oh, nothing much, bro. Nothing much. Just average week. Adjusting to lockdown 2.0, making sure that clients are sorted, making sure that I'm trying to sort out basically home visits, which is something that I've never done as a PT before. I've only ever started doing them with Eamon, who I go and train at home, and now I've actually got a pair of sweet ass dumbbells that you can't quite see. They're out of shop right now, but they're those clicky ones that you click to adjust the weight and you lift out and
adjustable dumbbells.
Yeah, and then some of it stays behind, some of it kind of comes with you. I got a pair of those.
Who'd you get it from? Is it Bowflex?
I bought it off Gumtree. No, they're not Bowflex. They're like a rip off of Bowflex, if you think of it that way. They're a bit cheaper, but it's the same thing. Like, they don't have a brand on them. They just say dumbbell, like dumbbell. Yeah. This is the dumbbell brand, and I bought it for a guy on Gumtree. He apparently gets them in, and that's his side hustle, is just selling dumbbells, selling like bits and bobs fitness wise. So picked them up, took them out a few times this week, loaded them into the car, driving them out to people's houses, and like, to be honest, they're working pretty fine. It's one of the things with these dumbbells, you can't drop them, so you got to be careful to not like kind of beast mode into your set, just throw them all everywhere, which I don't really agree with anyway. I'm not really, unless you're lifting some heavy ass shit, unless that dumbbell is a considerable percentage of your own body weight, then don't throw it afterwards. Like, just control it down and put it on the floor.
It's like, is it your Kevin Hart? You know, is it your Kevin Hart to The Rock? you ever see him? He's like, he's benching he's dumbbell pressing the 150-pound dumbbells, and he's like, these are my Kevin Harts.
I like it. Man, I feel bad for Kevin. Just like constantly getting banged on by him. But it's too good. No, that's legit. It has to. Does your dumbbell weigh as much as any human in your life? And I'm not talking about your toddler. Like, it must be a substantial life form that you know. Then maybe you can drop it at the end of your set. Until then, just keep a hold of it. It's fine.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. So that's been this week. Just taking things around. I quite like the idea of being a mobile PT. I've just realized that this week, taking fitness to the people. That's how I'm seeing it. I'm just like bringing my sack of gains, and I'm just on the road. Like, like, I don't know if you ever played. You played
just in time for Christmas. Yeah. We got a new Santa in town.
So the red, but it's not quite.
Does that say Santa? No, it says Savage.
Sound it out, children. Yeah.
Yeah.
No cookies for me, please.
No.
Nick D would not approve. Yeah.
Protein cookies. That's the
There
only
we
shit
go.
that could go down.
Down,
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Bro, we got a whole personality there for you this
Sprinkle a bit of
Christmas.
beef. Sprinkle a bit of beef on that, and
Yeah.
just to catch up. We're good. We're good. We got a good meal going.
Beef cookies.
Beef and ketchup cookies. Like, sounds great to me.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, I'm gonna have to try that. Is that Malik household special?
I don't know about that, but somebody on the podcast, if you want to have a go at cracking that out and making it, I mean, we would definitely eat it on air. I would definitely sample that if you want to. If you want to make it up and send it into Evolve, Achieve, Thrive.
Hell yeah.
At
That's it.
I don't even know where we're at, but
Yeah.
bring it.
Just
Bring
at.
it to us.
Yeah.
At my house.
Exactly.
Yeah. Bring it on down. Yeah,
On the
man.
Instagram at Evolve Achieve Thrive, or you can email us at evolveachievethrive@gmail.com.
That's
But
it.
yeah, tag us in it, and we want to see the evil that you produce. And as long as it's Gainsy, we don't care about how evil it looks.
Gainsy. That's a thing,
Yeah.
isn't it? Gainsy cookies.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, I was gonna say like the you play Street Fighter before?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Of
like
course.
there's you know the ones where they have the backstory of like Ryu and Ken doing their own thing and like going through the world and like basically there's one where Ryu's just like traveling the world and he has like a knapsack and he just goes everywhere with his knapsack and he just pulls up at a place and fights some guy and then trains a little bit and then just he's off walking around the world or hitching a ride or whatever. I feel like that's kind of what I felt like this week. Just me and my noble steed of a car carting around all this junk and just going around just making the world that little bit stronger, hopefully.
Yeah, that's it, man.
That's it, man.
Build-
That's my
Build that strength.
noble pursuit.
Hell yeah. It's like, and you just love riding around in your car as well. So any reason for that?
Too right, man. Too right. Do you know, that car is a beast. She actually had like 400 kilos of added weight into it this week in the form of just like random materials that we had to transport, and just took it like a champ. I'm just like, this is not designed for this car right now. Like, picture like a front line of a rugby team just all sat in the car and then extra more or whatever. The suspension is like sat right down, but I'm just like, I love this thing. This is such a trooper of a vehicle.
Hell yeah. Like, just show it some love afterwards, right? He's like, you've taken some abuse now. He's like, it's okay. Just, I'll show you some love.
It's one of those cars. Yeah, exactly. It's one of those cars where after it does something like that and it's just so reliable, I'm like, I'm going to look after you forever. Like, you're not getting sold. Like, you'll never get to get sold. I talk to her. I'm just like, that's it. We're together for life. Like this relationship works so well. Like, I require you work. And then I'm going to put some nice wheels on you. I'm going to put some nice suspension on you, some nice brakes, sort you right out and make sure that I just look after you forever and ever. There we go.
Yeah.
I know how to treat my automobiles.
Yeah. Don't leave me high. It's like, she's on her last legs, you know. You're getting told by a mechanic, you got like, all you got left is a body. That engine is done. You're like, nope. I ain't having it.
We got to get you a new heart.
Yeah. Exactly. It's not going to cut it.
What's that movie where there's the really big guy and then there's the kid who can't walk and he carries him around? Remember that movie from when you were little?
Oh, maybe.
Called? And then he tells him like that there's like a place he's going to go to a hospital, and he's going to get like a leg transplant or something. Remember that? There's some crazy movie. Remember it?
I don't remember the name.
God, I don't remember the name either. But I'm going to try and figure that out. If anyone listening and they know the name of that movie, please write it and tell us, because that was a wicked movie. I feel like that's me in my car. I feel like I'm either carrying the car through life or the car's carrying me through life, and I'm never leaving. I'm never leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Special bond.
That's it, man. All right, tell us about your name this week, bro.
Oh shit. Okay. Right. So this is the concept. I was telling you before we came on air, right? That we've talked about this before. Basically, the concept is through necessity of the way the world currently sits and is, right? And this idea has popped out in conversation with me so many times. And I've always said this. I'm lucky enough to have some amazing, amazing people around me 24/7. I class G in that. I class my sister in that. I class TJ in that. I class Bilal in that. I class my clients. I class all these people kind of as like people that if you needed help, you could go to them. You know what I mean? Like a little community of just winners, right? A little community of people I can rely on and lean on, and just help make the world a stronger, better, more mobile, better, more tech savvy, like just these little experts in their own little field. So
Yeah.
I want to create some kind of community whereby we can almost have, like, you have a handyman service, right? I'm trying to think of an analogy to use with this, but I can't really think of one right now. Hopefully it'll form as we tell the story, like a handyman service where it's just like, oh, call me up if you need your cupboards fitting, or you need your shelf changing, or paint that wall or whatever. I almost want to have that same thing, but for us to be like, this is the Evolve, Achieve, Thrive community page. Click on here to look at the members, and the members can be like yourself, and these are his qualifications. Give him a ring or book an appointment with him. And this is Sam, and if you need some life advice on parenting, she can sort you right out. She's got 3 boys and she's done a stand-up job, and this is her take on life. You know what I mean? Just like different people who have gone through life and are decent human beings that can help out other decent human beings in need. You know what I mean? And just through our own experiences, share that shit and help everyone just move forward with almost like a self-contained government, because God knows we can't go to Boris Johnson and ask him anything worth a damn and him help anybody. Any man that looks like he can't even do a push-up, like, you're not in charge. I don't care about what you think you're in charge of. You're just not in charge, right? And that's
got to be part of the criteria. It's like, can you imagine the next election campaign? They're just going around every constituency and just busting out push-ups until there's last man standing.
Yeah, well, at least they can go through physical adversity on some kind of level.
That's it.
It's like that man just falls over when he has to do anything. It's like this is not what I need for my leaders of tomorrow. But everybody on this list, this imaginary list that I'm talking about, is proven their salt in their own field, in their own life. Basically, that it's like they've gone through their own life university and come out in a place where they're not bitter, they're not angry, they're not sullied by their own efforts, but they've learnt lessons. They can pass those lessons on, and they can just be of service. And that I was listening to a podcast this week with Jordan Shallow, which is a mental podcast. He was actually on Steffi Cohen's podcast, which is called Hybrid Unlimited or Hybrid Unleashed. I'll check that in a second. It was so good. But one of the things he touched on was something that I feel similarly about, which was that life is about service to others, service to kind of a greater cause, and not kind of moving out of yourself to serve a higher purpose, right? And that, some people call it religion or whatever. It doesn't need to be called anything. Just basically serving a greater thing than just your own being. That was the inclination behind my name. I know we've talked about it before, but I was having a conversation with my brother-in-law just now, and someone like him, he's a computer whiz, like crazy good at computers. Like put me near a computer and watch me and that computer just like have friction between us before we even try and do anything. I mean, the amount of times I've messed up this podcast because I can't find my charger, or the headphone jack won't listen to me and actually hear my voice. Like, what's going on? Like, why do you hate me? But clearly, someone like him,
you got to change it. Yeah, got to change that relationship, man. It's like what you put out there, you attract, right? The computer's just giving you what you're feeling.
it just sends in static straight away. Just like this guy's not my guy. So I'm gonna give him heat straight from the start. Man. So it just got me thinking about different people who dominate their field and are genuinely good people that could also help other people in need. So I was like, that's what I'm gonna roll with today. What do you think about that, G?
Bro, now more than ever. More than ever. Because, I mean, like, people talking about it now. I was just talking about it, like, I got in touch with the next client as well. I just wanted to see how they were doing, because it'd been a while, and we had, like, a really good relationship as well. I was just like, how's things? It's like, generally good, thankfully, but, everybody's just, you can just sense it, that people are getting tired mentally of what's been happening this year, right? And obviously with the previous week as well, me talking about like that suicidal guy, and we managed to talk him off, like killing himself and stuff. Is like, it's and you can imagine that's happening more and more right now as well, because of the, like, just first of all with cities as well, especially, is like there's that level of disconnection, and then we're more disconnected now, having these kinds of restrictions placed on people's movements, placed on people's abilities to be in their communities, if they even had one in the first place. So that kind of shit is needed. it's highlighting how important it is needed now more than ever as well. And just going forward, I think you raised a good point as well, which is we talked about a little bit last week too, which was well, you said life is about service, and so we were talking about how you got to, in a way, like having faith in the idea that you're here for something that's bigger than you as well. And when people have that, it gives them meaning in their life. And it can be like you said, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be necessarily about God. It can just be about service to others, or making your community a better place, making wherever you are right now, whatever situation you're in, making it better, and that has an effect on other people. And community is such a it's not even negotiable how it's not even negotiable to have it or not. It's like you have to have it, because if you don't have it, you're not a functioning human being. You're just not that, you're not that good at being a human being. And because you are wired to be social, like it is an innate part of us to be social. It's not just in our DNA, it's what shapes our brain as well through experiences, to be exposed to other people. And because a quote I gave last week from that neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett was, the best thing for a human nervous system is another human being. The worst thing for a human nervous system is another human being. That just goes to show how important people are and how they can shape you. And so, yeah, having that community that you can rely on. And
yes, I go.
No, that's it. Yeah, it's just having a community of people that you can rely on and you can learn from, and you build each other up in that kind of ways. People to fill the gaps where you don't necessarily have the skills needed, and then you help the other person, and the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
100%, man. I like what you said there at the end. You repeated your quote from last week, and it's that what I'm finding with the people that are almost reaching out to me and asking me about, not necessarily reaching out to me to ask me about something. So I phrased that the wrong way, but when we're in conversation together, it's almost like they don't have an abundance of people around them that all sing from the same hymn sheet that we sing from. And this is the problem, I think, is that if you have, like the saying goes, like you are who you hang out with, or who you spend your time with, your most time with, you become like that, right? The influences you have around you. And if you don't have people that are looking at potential, people that are kind of trying to push you, people that are looking at the best for themselves, then it's just wasted potential. Whereas if we could help people access people from all walks of life who can provide perspective and provide their own version of a why, their own version of a drive, their own version of like a mum of three versus me who's got no kids but still has that passion. You who works in a completely different forum to how I work in some ways. It's just different latches that people can kind of hold on to and pick themselves up. You know what I mean? They're not kind of singularly trying to go out this life with a load of people around them who don't have the right influence. And I find that with people that I've worked with over the years, it's been such a common thing, whether it be they work so much, but the people they work with are just shitheads, and they just don't know how to like help them. They don't have anything good for them apart from, okay, we're doing a job here, but at the end of the job, you got to go home and you've got to think about, like, this is my life. Like, I only get this twice, and I need to connect with people that are just good for me, that kind of help me move forward, make me feel good about this, that, or the other, help me through an idea, and even sometimes just have a way of thinking which is so different to mine that takes the pressure off me in a way. Because sometimes, like, I think this is the thing in our culture, is that we're so dogmatic in how we think through trying to be right, or trying to be upholding to our values, or upholding to our elders, that we can actually get stuck in one way of thinking, where somebody can come along and be like, oh, but I do it like this, and it's such a pressure release to hear that. I think that's a really valuable thing that maybe people out there just need, like you said, at a time like this, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that ability to have people around you who think in a different way and not find that challenging in a negative way. I think that's crucial. Again, in another to say it again is now more than ever, because all that ends up happening is you've probably seen it on like social media and stuff like that, and just the way it works is like people get too caught up in being polarizing. They always create this the false dichotomy. It's like you're either this or you're that. It's like, let's take America for example. It's like with you're either a Democrat or you're a Republican, or you're a Biden fan, or you're a Trump supporter. And if you're a Trump supporter, that means you're a cunt. And it's like, all right, like it completely missed the point of why people might have a different viewpoint to you, and completely miss the point in trying to understand it. Because you can't tell me, for example, there's like 70 million people who all agree that the ones who voted for Donald Trump, basically, you can't tell me that there's 70 million people who think he's a good human being and that's why they voted him in. It's like, no, that's not what's going on. There's a lot more to it than just here's somebody who nobody should like, but why are there people liking him? Like they're not understanding the nuances. So you see that kind of stuff happening everywhere, where people are just like, you're either this or you're that, but it's just not true. There's nuance. There's always nuance. And one thing that I'm trying to invest my time in is having somebody else's point of view put on me, but not having a reaction to it, because it's just like such a, I guess it's difficult to find. I was talking about it with my bro a few days ago. Yeah, it was a few days ago. And it was just the idea that, because of the kind of circles that we surround ourselves with, right? So like we got to get our own business. And over time, I've only been around people who don't have that orthodox 9 to 5 lifestyle, right? So, and they're getting paid no matter what happens, in a way. It's like, you could be sick, or you take your 30 days off and that's it. But whereas like, us lot, we got to be entrepreneurial to a degree. And we always got to be conscious of like, what could happen here, what could happen there. If this happens, then this is a possibility, and your hours are kind of all over the place, and just basically, and the mindset is a bit different. And because I've gradually, not even because it was a conscious thing, but because it just ended up happening as a result of the kind of work that I do and the way that I started thinking. Like most of the people I know don't have that kind of orthodox 9 to 5 lifestyle anymore, or the people that I've come to know. And so I just wonder, I'm like, actually, you know what? Like, I want to kind of get back in touch in a way with them again, or maybe find people like that, because I don't know what they're thinking anymore, in that sense. I want to understand where they're coming from, because let's say I don't value that lifestyle, but I want to understand more about why it's appealing to certain people. Like, I've got some good like presuppositions for why it might be. I used to be there. I understand why it gets done, but I want to know, like, for somebody who's in the game for like 10 years, 20 years, like, what was the thing, what was the trade-off you made? Why did you stay in that place? Even if you had other passions, what's the benefit, and what is it that you got out of it? All those kinds of things. And not trying to put anyone down for having that opposing view, Yep. And then, me and you, we're trainers, but we will approach people in a different way. But as long as like, we can talk about the principles of how that's approached as well. Is like, the good thing is like, if you have the principles in place, then it doesn't matter kind of how you train someone, because you're meeting the principles, right? It's like, I think a quote I remember from a long time ago is like, for methods there are many, but principles there are few. If you follow the principles, then you have your method, and that's what's important. And so I want to be able to engage in conversations with people who I don't necessarily agree with anymore, because I just want to understand a lot more about it. And I want to be able to do that, and in a way where nobody has to be like, you're crazy for thinking that. Nobody has to be like, and I don't want anybody to be like, you're crazy for thinking that. And I don't want them to say, that's a stupid point of view, or you don't want anybody to judge it. You just want to come from a place of understanding. And that's what I want to do, is like, whatever's happening in the world, whatever crazy shit you see going on, because this year's been fucking crazy for for so many different reasons. And it just makes everybody kind of feel like, they're on the edge of something, they're on the precipice. And I want to understand, like, okay, I have my point of view on it, but I want to understand why somebody might believe a certain thing about it, and which isn't like my point of view. And so to be able to have that community of people where they're supportive of each other but also don't agree on everything, it helps you to create the right compromise so that you have the right kind of world you want to be living in.
Yes, 100%, bro. 100%. That's the antidote to what we have right now. Because what we have right now, like you said earlier, is you're in this camp or you're in this camp. And if you're in that camp, we're not mates. And it's like, but that can't be. That can't, because it's creating division. And then there's going to be commonalities along the way. And we almost want to come together on the points that we do come together on, but then understand, like you said, people's points of view, because it clearly serves them for a reason. Like me and TJ will talk about this sometimes, like having an ego is a bad thing, but it's also a good thing because it's protected you in that state. Maybe it's allowed you to make decisions which have saved your life in some ways, or given you a heading, and then along the way you end up meeting people, and it helps you dissolve this thing that served you one time, but you put the cape down now because you don't need to wear it anymore. You know what I mean? And something you said there, like something that I think we do well on this podcast, is the long form discussion, and we can cap this at 2 hours, at 3 hours, or whatever, right? But I almost what I envision is like something where the conversation don't stop. You know what I mean? Like today, the sun will go up, the sun will come down. Cool. That marks a day. Yes, and we decided that it's a day. But in your life, this has been an obstacle. I'm just talking kind of in theory here. Something's been an obstacle in your life. Maybe it's been an obstacle for many years. Maybe it's been whatever. And you need to talk your way through it. You need to communicate that it is an obstacle, that it is something. And that may start with, okay, I'm just, again, playing off the dome here, right? But like you starts with like a forum where someone's discussing something about training or whatever, anything. And the way I'm envisioning it is that conversation starts there, but you check in, you talk, you kind of, you have this ongoing discussion with somebody over the course of a couple of months, couple of weeks, sometimes a year or whatever, just to understand different points of view. And then along the way, it might go toward changing your perspective potentially, or maybe you go toward changing somebody else's perspective. And in doing so, everyone just moves forward to a place where it's a homologation of your way, my way becomes our way. You know what I mean? It's like that it takes away the lines. It takes away the ownership of I need to be right. I need to have this be my name on this. So I don't give a shit about that. No one needs to give a shit about that. Like we don't need to be like you said about Democrat, Republican, or like I'm Biden, I'm blue, I'm red. We don't need that. We just need to live well. You know what I mean? And that's what I feel this kind of forum could provide people. It's almost like if you think about social media in an ideal way, or not an ideal way, sorry, that's the wrong way of thinking about it. But you think of it like bring people interacting around the world into an ideal way to help people. This would be it. You know what I mean? This would be it in a way that let's just swap ideas. And in my head right now, I'm just thinking like you probably have to vet who gets in just to prevent it turning into like freaking Burning Man online. But like you'd want to, but you'd want to, you'd want to know.
You've got to have standards.
Of course, because it's at the end of the day, I wouldn't want to put Charles Poliquin in a forum with some shithead, right? It's like okay, this guy actually knows how to benefit your life in so many ways, but then here's a guy who doesn't know whether he's a unicorn or he's a giraffe. It's like, no, you can't be in yet. You know what I mean? Figure your shit out, and then when
I'm definitely a giraffe.
I'm definitely a unicorn, yeah? I'm definitely a unicorn.
All right, sorted. That's my name for next week. That's your name for next week. Unicorn Brown. because I'm special, I'm unique, I almost don't exist. That's how good I am.
I reveal myself now and then, and you'll never see me again.
Yeah.
Yeah, never can't catch this. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, that's so many different ways you can go with this tangent, but I almost feel like I definitely want people to. I've said this a few times today already, but like, just give us your opinion on that, because I feel like it's something that we all need, is to understand the perspective of other people. And I love how you said it earlier, that you no longer like operating from a place of let me just be Gurinder Sandhu, and I want to just, this is my idea. What's your idea? Oh well, I don't know if that's right, because it didn't serve me in my life. But it's like, well, that's not about that. This conversation is not about that. This conversation is just about seeing what's out there, discussing it, and then maybe leaving it there, or maybe even in time being like, oh, I now feel safe enough, because this is a chilled space, to say, okay, what if you tried this? I think that it would benefit you in this way, and maybe it would make your life a bit easier. And you to turn around and go, oh, maybe that's the case. Yeah, maybe I should give that a go. Nice one, thank you for that. Like, we don't need to see
Yeah.
anything past that. You know what I mean? And then at the end of the
Yeah.
day, we're all better off for it. You're better off having shared your arguments, and shared your perspectives. I'm better off because I've received something, and now I can go forward and overcome some obstacle that's hindered me. Right? Yeah. You got
Yeah.
some wild
100%,
weather
man.
going on there?
Yeah. Can you hear it?
Yeah, bro.
Bro, we
Yeah,
got
man.
hailing going on, man. I just
Oh,
looked
damn.
outside and I can't even see outside because the
Oof.
windows have just been battered up. I was like, what is that?
This
Yeah,
is our
that
last
is.
ever podcast, people. Gurinder Sandhu is about to get
Yeah,
taken into the world of tomorrow.
yeah, exactly, man.
Day
Was
after
it the day
tomorrow.
after tomorrow?
That's it.
That's
That's
it.
it. Goodness
It's
me.
happened, man. I'll be Jake Gyllenhaal, just try to guide people back to safety.
I'm coming
It's,
for you. I feel like I need to say that.
yeah,
I'm coming for you. I could be. What's his name? What's the dad's
it,
name in that?
well, I
Oh,
don't know.
Dennis
Dennis
Quaid.
Quaid is the actor. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, legend. Yeah, you reminded me. You reminded me there. Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
movie,
man.
isn't it?
Oh man, that's so old school. That's like, it's good. Yeah, it was good when it was out. Like it was just
Yeah.
fun. I just remember that. It was
Remember E4
yeah,
playing it every single Saturday night. Like,
really
what was E4's game? E4 just had that movie on repeat every other week.
trying to tell
Yeah.
us something.
Yeah. Run, fools.
Yeah, exactly. That's that made me think of movies and stuff. I'll ask you that question later. But
All right.
to what you were saying, like I think what you said is important. The idea of like a safe space, and then you'll feel confident feeling wrong, because it's so wrapped up in us to without it ever being taught explicitly, because it never is. No one's ever taught like to explicitly believe that you're right and that's the only way. But it ends up happening through the development of a fixed mindset, without even realizing it. So you don't like the idea of being challenged on your opinions, whether they're grounded in fact. Whether you're just taking a wild guess and you just think that it means something. And another reason, like again from a neuropsychological point of view as well, is like we're kind of hardwired to just stick with our beliefs, because one reason is it's just easier to go down that path when we already have a system that we function from. There's no point in changing it, because it takes a lot of fucking energy to change the way you think about something, and what your brain and your body's always trying to do is conserve energy. In that sense, it doesn't really want to think about anything. That's why a lot of anything that you do is automatized, so that it's not something you have to think about doing, because that would just take up too much processing power, and that would just mean that you're burning through energy. So if you're in a place where you're having a conversation with someone, you're forced to think, and forced to think differently, that expends more energy, and that's automatically a reason for us to not go there. So we stop ourselves from going there, and then we can push back. And if you keep having that kind of resistance, you're just going to keep going into what you believe in. That person's going to keep going into what they believe in. Like, cognitive bias, essentially, cognitive dissonance. Sorry, and then and then we have a problem. But if you can approach it in a way where it's non-threatening, so you're talking to somebody and you're like, that's interesting, I'm not sure I agree, but I want to understand more where you're coming from, tell me more about that, instead of being like, what the fuck does that mean, like what are you talking about? And then coming in with your own thing before you even try to understand where the other person's coming from. I think it's you change the nature of the conversation that way, and then you could walk away feeling like you've actually gained something rather than walking away with that feeling of frustration because you were trying to convince somebody of something that you didn't have to try and like you wasted energy trying to convince somebody, and that's just never a smart way of doing anything. If you learn anything from the movie Inception, is that you need to incept people. You can't go and try and put something on them. You have to in a way have a conversation with them that if their idea needs to be changed or manipulated to a certain degree so that it fits a mold better, whatever it might be, it's like you got to do it in a way where it's it almost feels like it's coming from them rather than you having done anything about it. And then you kind of not got to have the pride that when somebody's like, you know what, like it will happen to us like often. I'm sure you probably would have experienced it. You know, we might have said to somebody like, you want to eat more protein, let's say, and because that person's protein intake is just budget right now, it's just not good enough, and they don't like for whatever reason, because there's a lot of hang-ups around food generally, is like, you know, they might not just go with it straight away. They might increase it a little bit, but it's not enough to be at the place they need to be at. But then you don't really push it, and but you talk about it in a way where hopefully it resonates with them, right? And then a few weeks later, it's like, you know what? I just decided to up my protein. I feel great. And it's like, cool. You can't be like, I did that. I told you about that, and that's what's important. It's not, exactly. That's it. Instead, exactly. Well, instead, what you want to do is like lay back and be like, my work here is done, but not make that clear to the other person. That doesn't matter. It's about them feeling like they had the intuition to do it themselves. They had the wherewithal to do it themselves, and it doesn't matter. It's not. So that's what it's also about, as well as like kind of having a conversation and walking away from it. You know, ego's a good thing, ego's a bad thing, as you said. It's neither. It just is, and we can make it bad and we can make it good. And so you need to just settle on the side where you might feel a little bit insecure about something, and just be like, okay, this is cool. This is all good. I don't have to put it in. And I'll give you another example of that as well. Is like I've had situations where meeting friends for like dinner or lunch or something like that, and they'll start talking about like oh, my friend ate broccoli for 6 weeks and he lost 22 kilos. And I'm like, yeah. In my head, I'm thinking, yeah, that's obviously what's going to happen. Then it just sparks a conversation about, what's that's legit, by the way. That actually happened.
Eat your food like
that's it, exactly. eat my broccoli. No, it's like that legit. Yeah, that legit happened. That was an actual conversation once, and so the conversation is happening. And I'm just like, cool. So it sparked the idea of, what's the best diet for... It sparked a conversation, what's the best diet for weight loss, or what's the best diet to feel good and stuff like that. And I'm just sitting there because by that point, I'd already got to a stage where it's like, I'm never going to chime in unless I'm being asked, right? And so the conversation was being had. It was like 20, 30 minutes, and they're just talking about it. And I'm just sitting there quietly, and I'm like, I'm the only person there who's qualified to talk about this kind of stuff and provide a balanced opinion on it, based in some science and fact, exactly. But you just get instead I'm just hearing some wild shit being thrown around, and I'm like, all right.
You're in the wrong forum, bro.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna let it go. I'm just gonna let it go. It's fine. I know. I'm like, you gonna ask me? Like, I'm waiting for my name to be sprung out and be like, what do you think it is? Didn't happen. But I have to not give a shit, because if nobody wants my opinion on it, in that sense, I don't want to just chime in unless something is like so outlandishly wrong where I think that person's going to kill themselves if they tried that. I'll be like, nah, I'm gonna have to step in here. But generally, that just doesn't happen. And yeah, you just kind of not have to have an ego about it, and you just got to step back and be like, all right, that's what people are talking about, and they can keep talking about it. And if they want what I think about that, then fine. If they don't, then fine.
Yeah, man, I completely agree. I like what you said. You said something before you made your last point. I'm trying to remember what it was, but there's I almost feel like people's defense mechanism is so they that for like validation's sake and for sake of not being like you don't want to be told that you wasted your life, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
be don't want the spotlight to be shining in your face and being like you fucked up, like you had years and years and years and you were doing the wrong thing and you should have been doing this thing. It's like that's a horrible thing to hear because it just makes you use that horrible sinking feeling and just like, oh my god, like I've just blown it, right? But
But again,
in
it kind of like it'll depend a little bit as well. It's like somebody might need to hear that, and that
yeah,
sparks change. And but yeah, anyway, yeah, go on.
yeah, no, I can, yeah, exactly. See that there's perspective, right? That
Yeah,
literally right there, right? And
it's that is nuance as well. So it's a different perspective, but it's also I think the more I think about it is like the more we can't talk in absolutes. We like okay, there are certain things where we're making a point and is like it's useful to make a point with it, but then also it's just be like it's just
it's
not the whole
application.
picture, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah. It's
application
not the
in
whole
the
picture.
sense. No, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But it's worth saying. It's worth having
yeah,
that perspective on. You know what I mean? And that's why this built out with tens of hundreds of people who have that level of intuition because it's been presented to them in their own experiences is so valuable because I'm not going to get that intuition in my own mind. There's only a finite number of things these eyes have seen or this like body has felt or experienced or whatever. But you coming in and giving me a second consciousness, it's infinite. You know what I mean? It's literally infinite, right? And then third and fourth and fifth. But I feel like the institution, especially in our cultures, that I can say, I'm sure you'll say something similar, is like people's egos are so propped up on culture, on this is how I've always done it, and doctors make money, personal trainers don't make money. It's like, oh well, this it's all bullshit. You know what I mean? It's like you've thought that way for a long period of time, but let's just move forward in a way that doesn't mean that you were wrong, but means that there's another way of tackling this issue, and therefore
100%.
everybody can actually be okay. You know, everyone can express themselves in a way that gives them happiness in their lives. No one feels repressed as long as they're not doing things like you said, which are fringe and are you need to snap out of this shit now because you're about to hurt yourself, about to hurt your family, about to hurt loads of people, and there's more that you can be getting out of this experience than just sitting on the sofa and pissing your life away, right? That's
Yeah,
but in the kind of made it world, there's too much of this like I'm going to stand above you and I'm going to tell you which way you need to walk for the rest of your life, and that I feel like that's the people have kind of settled into these frames, whether it be with schooling systems, whether it be with house. I'm going to raise you to be like this, and you need to be like this, and walk in this line and talk in this line and stand up with your top button done. I feel like that institution is meaning well, but when it comes to it falling apart, it almost needs to that's one of the things that needs to be tackled basically is not thinking that we just need to work in these ways that have always been, but now explore things just by talking our way through them and understanding perspectives, understanding how people have got to places and respecting the fact that they have actually got to places, but where, like for instance, a household that earns really really well but maybe spends all over the place, like can we use that differently? So like there may be maybe a family down the road who doesn't earn that well, so maybe they don't know much about business, but they definitely know about how to save and how to kind of put together a meal when you haven't got much money. So it's like they're just the antidotes for each other, whereas one will go and piss all money up all over the wall, but they'll make loads of money, and these guys over here won't make anything, but they'll save and they'll live humbly, and but maybe they can work a little harder and maybe be a bit more entrepreneurial, and maybe there's a spark in their family who can benefit from those guys down the road. I mean, there's just so many permutations to this, but I think the crux of it is that there's not one way that works. I mean, there's loads of different ways that work, and respecting that and in some ways trying to move forward with that is so needed. It's
yeah.
super necessary, some might say.
Super necessary.
It's crept its way back in. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's got to be there. It's got to be there. Shout out one more time to Street Jesus. I don't even know why. It just had to be,
So
said, and somehow he gets mentioned at every goddamn podcast.
you're right. You're right. Do you know why he needs to be right? Because I know there was somewhere in the world that you were when you heard him say the words "super necessary," and I was somewhere in the world when I heard him say "super necessary." We were like, yeah, super necessary. That's
Super
legit.
necessary.
That needs to stay now because that
Yeah.
will be old as shit. It will be like super necessary.
Super
Like,
necessary.
grandchildren,
Exactly.
great grandchildren, super necessary. Listen to me right now.
That's it. Exactly. It's
Just
like, get that in your vernacular. They're going to be talking in emojis. That's the only thing they're going to have is emojis. And we're just going to be saying super necessary. They're never going to understand it.
But still, see what I just did there? I shook my head like, damn these kids. But maybe that's the better way of doing shit. Who knows? Yeah, I mean, I need to decode myself there. I'd be like,
Oh,
no,
man.
shut up, old brain. But at the same time, if I got something to offer, maybe we can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, our own version, our retarded version of hieroglyphics, basically. That's where our communication's going.
That's it, man. That's
Yeah,
it.
well, yeah, it's worth talking about the pros and cons of that kind of stuff, right? Maybe for another time. But
But this is it. That what you've just said there is there is no kind of end to what conversation we should have, but the fact that we should just have conversation. Like, let's just make it civil. Let's just make it about the learning. And let's just make it about being better. Go and apply it. If it worked, cool.
100%.
If it didn't work, come back for some more context. And then if it don't fit, cool. It's all right. You can always go back to what you're doing what you were doing before. But if there's not an answer there for you, then maybe have more discussions with the people that might have these answers. You know what I mean? Start living in a different way. At the end of the day, it's all just for this human experience to be a bit more linear, a bit more controllable, a little bit less wild, a little bit less kind of at the whim of, let's face it, like people that maybe we don't trust, maybe we don't see have the right clarity of thought, they don't have the purity that we really need. Just take control again. You know what I mean? Like, kind of these tribes that we kind of evolved from, we were in them for a reason, right? And now we're like, vote for these tribes. It's like, why? But why? It's like, but which one of you can show me how to do a double leg? I don't want to listen to any of you. Like, none of you know what arm drag is. Like, I can't see you doing a kimura. I can't see you having the flexibility to do a triangle choke. Like, none of you guys get it. None of you guys get. I'm sorry. Like there's important shit that I need you to know, and you don't know it. So
That's
don't get my vote.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Sylvie for Prime Minister.
Sylvie for Prime Minister. He gets a shout quite often as well with us, man.
Yeah, he
He's
does.
like,
He does.
We should bring him on the podcast one day.
For sure, man. Should have a two-way between him and Sam. Get them both on the same episode.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be wild, man.
Yeah, that'll be super jokes. I think, it'll be wicked, man. I think I could just imagine Sylvia just be super happy just to chat about wrestling for 2 hours.
Yeah, oh yeah, too right. But
That'd be
if we turned him onto this conversation, like personally, having had chats with Sylvia, he would go off, man. He would love it.
Yeah.
He would just run with this shit and be like, Umar, everything's fucked. We need to fix this. You're right. We need to fix this. And then that's it. We can all get behind that, right?
Yeah. Oh man. All right. We'll make that happen. We'll chat to Sylvie.
We gotta play the episode for him, and he'll be like, "Let's do podcast right now."
Yeah.
Like, okay,
right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly.
Get the camera. Yeah.
That would be epic, man. I think. That's what you're talking about. Is like, I don't want to be part of that tribe because are you going to show me a double leg, right? It's like, yeah, I think we all need to find where we fit, and it might be like multiple places because we have that kind of privilege now as well. So, for example, I've done improv. You know, I train jiu-jitsu. My work is also the people I know through my work. Like that will also be a tribe too. So there's those various places where I can get my fill. You know, I can get myself operating at a level that I want to be operating at and feel good about it. So I think there's a lot of issues that people can solve by having a community that they can rely on or feel a part of. And if you don't have that, you know, good luck, because I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but it's something crazy like 50 to 90%. So loneliness increases your chances of early death by 50 to 90%, and that's regardless of whether you actually feel lonely. So you could be somebody who's alone, but you don't necessarily feel lonely because you might like to be a bit of a whether it's a hermit or you introverted to the extent where you don't want to necessarily be around people. Like, you don't have to be around people all the time, but basically the idea is, if you don't have social interaction, you're you're gonna die early, which is freaking nuts, right? It's nuts, but again, that's how we're wired. So find somewhere where you can get that, and
It
be
makes
somewhere where
sense,
you can
doesn't
get
it?
that.
It genuinely makes sense. Like, say, extrapolate it out to like the wild. Like, if you're just a wildebeest, you ain't lasting. Like, you're just
Yeah.
not. You know what I mean? The strength in numbers, all these things, like community, and
Yep.
and uh, Wakanda forever, right? Like, you need to be part of a people, right? It's like, yeah, that's it, man. Shout out Chadwick Boseman, legend.
Yeah, man.
Well, R.I.P. Chadwick Boseman.
Mm.
Yeah, man. And do you know what? I've just realized something while you were talking. Like,
Mm.
the inception of this idea. Like, I love the way you dropped that line earlier, and the way you talked about how you got to go in and like plant the seed and shit. That was cool,
Mm.
man. You can be our Leonardo DiCaprio, bro. That's you.
The cob. Yeah.
Yeah, Cobb. What a name, eh? Cobb.
This podcast is my one chance.
To get into the people's minds. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. We need to shoot this. Like, I'm some kind of unicorn or Father Christmas, and you're just Cobb from spinning your little top. That's it. This is our shoot off animation episode for this week. Um,
Exactly.
the inception of what you were just saying in my life was, wow. Even before this, what I'm about to mention, at college, like you said something just now. You said improv, and you said kind of you're part of improv and you're part of like immaculate dissection. So basically, you're saying you're going to these different subsects of people, and you're taking a little bit from here, and you're inputting a little bit there, and you're leaving a little bit here, and you're making them all part of you, right? And I can say that I did exactly the same thing when I was in college, for instance. Like, I remember, I don't know whether it was like this in your school, but we had like the typical sporty kids table, right? And there was like sporty kids that would not necessarily play all sports, but maybe they were like playing rugby or whatever. And then there was like the basketball play table where they would just sit, and they would all generally be a bit taller, a bit lankier, a bit kind of more kind of skater boyish. And there'd be
Yeah.
the Asians that would just sit in one bit, and they would just kind of like do Asian shit. I don't know, like just be with each other. And there would be like the nerdier kids who would necessarily not be as athletic, maybe, but definitely enjoy each other's company. I remember being able, like, luckily, now I'm looking back and piecing the puzzle together, being able to just kind of sit with these guys for a while, sit with those guys for a while, go and hang with the teachers and the staff in the staff kind of area for a while, and go
Yeah.
and just go and sit with the nerd kids and play Yu-Gi-Oh for a while. Like, that was almost me talking about what we're talking about today. You know what I mean? Like, kind of realizing those guys over there got your problem solved. You know, you guys got this problem over here. Those guys have had it cracked for years. Like they know that being physical is actually good for you. Like, you guys over here playing checkers all the time. Like, the reason why you feel like shit is because you don't run around enough. Like, go hang out with them. And you guys over here, you love playing rugby, but maybe you need to learn a bit more about like the neurology of getting smashed in the head. So go and talk to those guys. You know, just because that they'll sell you right out. Like, so
Yeah.
this whole thing, they're coming for you, G. They we can literally help each other. You know what I mean? Just by spreading these ideas, man.
That's it, 100%. And yeah, if there's an environment to teach it, it'll definitely be like, the quintessential high school, because like you just described, it's like, I just think of that movie Mean Girls as well, from like back in the day. It's like, yeah, you just got those different kids who just sit
Yeah,
together, and like in
too right,
American
man.
high school is a proper stereotype fully exists, right? There's a stereotype for a reason. There's always a stereotype for a
Yeah,
reason, and uh, and so yeah, that's one of the stereotypes is like, the nerdy kids sit and they get bullied by the jocks, and the
yeah.
jocks, they're the ones that everybody looks up to, but really they're full of nothing. But yeah, so
They just peaked
that's
right now. Like, that's it.
yeah,
There's no more.
that's
There's no more
it.
tapping out of them. Yeah.
I know he's like peaking at 16. Could you imagine? Whoa, that's just weak, man. But yeah, it's like, yeah, that would be the environment where you want to try and cultivate that, because there is just, especially these formative years, is you want to be able to cultivate the spectrum. You're just getting people involved in like different things. It's like, okay, yeah, know the things that you really excel at and really want to do, but don't miss out on something else going on over there. in the sense of learning something from it.
Yeah. I mean, I love the idea of like a social experiment in this regard because it's it's like imagine you go to school with Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? He's over there just doing shoots at lunchtime, like just constantly just like, scraping his knees and just hitting the pavement. Obviously, that's a kid in like one insular way doing his thing, only focusing on one thing. It's like, okay, well, we don't want to pull him off that path because he wants to go be world champion at that. But maybe for someone like that to enjoy the process a bit more, he just has to come and have a chat with you about like, oh, okay, you're going to climb the mountain, but be happy at some point, be kind of like content with this and whatever, you know what I mean? Just to break up the monotony of kind of what he's going through. And maybe that helps him feel more passionate about what he's doing rather than kind of weeding and wavering. And yeah, man, this coming together of ideas definitely would in my opinion, well, it'd be interesting to find out, wouldn't it? It'd be interesting to find out at that level, whether a school level, you could pick up on some kids and be like, okay, this kid's really good at this thing, but he needs to. I think he would be better suited if he focused on this more a little bit as well. Imagine having a schooling system that graded that criteria rather than just graded the fact that you knew about Henry VIII and his 6 wives. It's like, what is this junk? Like, what do we need to know this rubbish for? You know what I mean? That, but this stuff, it's it's fundamental.
Yeah, like you imagine. Yeah, I don't know because it didn't happen in my time. Because I'm so fucking old now. But
Back in
it's like I can't imagine like a history teacher saying to like it's report day or something or parent teacher evening or whatever it is, and then the history teacher goes, "I think your kid needs to do more PE." Like what? Where did that come from? Why is the history teacher saying that? I don't know. I would love that for that to be a thing because everybody understands the value of a little bit at least the value of all these other things. It's not just like, all right, if you do that, then your history learning suffers. It's like, no, actually, if you're more physical, then you've got a better chance of retaining the information that you learn in a history class. So if everybody kind of has that sort of understanding of how everything kind of feeds into each other, then you can make an argument for just. And then you might find the day that somebody actually does say that.
Too right, man. Too right. And then you like
I
just
hope it happens.
the top of my head there, like say you got a kid who's just not interested in history, but then you go okay, like we're gonna light this up by learning about Genghis Khan next week, and this is he was a wrestler, so we're gonna go and do some wrestling, and we're gonna go and try and understand a bit more about this. All of a sudden, you're well interested in history. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh shit, this guy did this, and he owned he basically owned half the three-quarters of the globe. It's like, okay, shit, maybe I want to learn this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that way you end up becoming more interested in more of history, right? You just open the doors in a way that interests the kid or meet them at their level. And you don't know, the possibilities are endless from there.
Yeah. You're that kid, right? You're like, teach me about Genghis Khan.
God damn! The amount of times I don't like thinking like wishing about my life, but because I'm really thankful for what it is right now. But early doors, if you'd got me into like wrestling or being crazy physical or whatever, wow, I would have loved it. I would have super loved it.
Man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, it's just one of those things. I always say, like, found grappling. It's like, if there's one thing, like you said, like you can't really change anything because, like, how you've ended up, and like, you're fine the way you are, or you're happy with the way things are and the way things are going, and you're in control of that journey. But if there was one thing, it would be like, I wish I did grappling from the moment I could walk.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
that's essentially it. Because there's just, I mean, there's so much to gain from being having control of yourself and knowing that you could control somebody else if you had to. There's so much power in that, and being confident in your own ability to defend yourself if somebody comes at you with their arms.
But bro, think about this. Like this is going a way for me. The conversation kind of started off with adults and creating a forum online. Cool. It goes to like, okay, schooling level, like college or university or secondary school. Then it comes down to primary school. Imagine in primary school, what we're doing a BJJ class. Like this is PE. You know what I mean? This is PE, like self-defense, self-awareness, body awareness. Are you fit enough to do this? Are you dexterous enough to do this? Can we explore these ranges? Can we hold position well? Can we keep our mind calm? Can you regulate your breathing? Like, how much better for you is that than remember the kids that didn't like PE at school? They were just told to, here's a ball, go bounce it for a while. It's like, that's so sad. Like, that's
Yeah,
legit
man.
so sad. No skills
Yep.
parted ways with, no questions asked. Just like give up on that life. Yeah, cool. No, man, that's bullshit. Yeah.
Totally.
So that's it. We have to start a school, G.
That's it.
I've
Done.
decided. Yeah, people, send your kids in. Evolve, Achieve, Thrive. We will be taking admissions from Tuesday because we need Monday to plan this out. And Tuesday we're rocking and rolling.
That's all it takes. Because we're not thinkers, we're doers.
We're going to sign Sylvie up. He's going to be your physical education lead. We're going to get G-San doing. He's going to do his best in DiCaprio impression day one. Everyone's going to be incepted, and I'll figure out what to do along the way. That's it.
Yeah. You're going to be savage. That's what you're going to do. You're going to be the savage. You're going to stay savage. You're going to teach savage.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But in all seriousness, right? I would see a life ambition well achieved if that institution found its way into some kind of community. And why the hell can't it not? You know, I mean, that's a genuine, like, talking straight from passion right now. That would serve so many people so well. Yeah, serve people so well right from the start, like you're talking about. 100%.
Yeah, man. I think, I said it earlier, the disconnection that you can experience in a city and how sprawled out things are, and it's wonderful, but again, this comes back to the nuance of it as well. It's like somebody can always argue for how shit everything is, but it's also at the same time there's how beautiful everything is as well. You can take the same thing and turn it into a positive and to a negative. It's like we have 24-hour access to everything. It's like, this is amazing, but at the same time it's shit and it's bad for our health because of the fact that we could be eating a cheeseburger at 3 a.m, and that's not great generally, right? There's so much around that, and where is, in a way, it's kind of I think it's undisputed that we need more community. We certainly need more community. The bigger, more sprawled out a city gets, more people that there end up being, you want to have hubs where you can get together, and you kind of need more of them as well. Is like, I guess for a lot of people, the sake of convenience as well. Is like, if there's a jiu-jitsu school right here, but there's another one a mile away, it almost doesn't it almost doesn't encroach on the one or the other, because everybody's so much about convenience, and there's a shit ton of people within a mile radius or half mile radius of this one, and there's a half mile radius of that one. There's plenty of people that you could attract. So in a way, it almost doesn't matter that there are quite a few hubs of the same thing around in the same area, but just because that's how many people there are about. But if you can create that hub and have that hub, I think it's super necessary. Just getting that community feel.
Yeah, man. Yeah, because it's. I think just as a start, like, you don't even need to think about what it could be or what the end range is or the mass effect of this thing could be, but just having it start and provide some kind of assurance, provide some kind of guidance, support for people that maybe never experience these kind of things. I think it's absolutely vital, man. I think it's absolutely vital. So yeah, man, that's one for the future for sure.
Yeah,
start
well,
hatching those ideas.
The future is now, because imminently we're going to be announcing some level of community from the Evolve, Achieve, Thrive podcast. So for our listeners and for everybody else as well, and for our listeners and their friends, bring them in. We're going to be creating a community, and we will be announcing imminently what that's going to be. So stay tuned, folks.
That's exciting. As an advert, hope we've kind of sold it well there, because that's that's what we can all be part of. You know, I mean, that's what we can all be part of to make it better. You know, I mean, all of us, everyone, not just kind of it be made, or we just come in and just kind of, I'll just take part. No, you're in part of this. Like, you bring your own sauce. I'm going to add that to the 100%. Mix.
That's it. Exactly. Bring it and show us who you are, and revel in that community. And let's build people up.
Too right, man. Too right. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Yeah, man.
Should
Should
we
we segue?
those were my words, bro. You just stole them. I was like, shall we? And
Yeah. Take it back. Go on, let it.
we're gonna segue. We're gonna segue into something that we were talking about before we went on air, and yeah, I think we'll run with your idea, man. Tell us what you were thinking about and what you wanted to just explore a little bit more of.
Oh, is this the hip and foot thing?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Sam. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure which one because we talked about a few things. I was like, oh, gee, which one are you talking about, man?
Even if you said something else, I'll be like, yeah, sure. It's fine.
Should pass the ball to me. I don't know which way I run with it. Okay.
Yeah. Just all these directions. Like, what am I doing? Yeah.
It's like Waterboy when he runs through and he scores an own touchdown.
That's why I call quality H2O.
Oh man, so many lines in my head right now.
Yeah, it's such a good film.
Right, so let's get into this a little bit. Where to start? So this is just us. We're going to riff a little bit on the hip and the foot and this. I think I'll just throw out there like flat feet and having kind of problems with your feet. Bit of an odd place to kind of jump in, but if I can paint it for you like this, say you look down at your feet, and this is a generalization because I don't know the full scope, but if your foot's kind of sat and it's like dunk, it's kind of bowed in on the inside, yeah. On the whole, in my experience, what does that mean, and why might that not be an optimal thing? So, as like a athletic person, as somebody who needs to have a strong base or needs to do exercises or needs to support themselves, I feel like I've explored feet and I've explored the hip and the body and all these kind of things to a certain degree. And recently, I had this explained to me by Jordan Shallow on one of the course lectures that we did, and basically what he was saying was what is happening at the foot is a consequence or an expression of what's happening at the hip. Try and think of it like shit rolling downhill, right? So something happening up here, you'll see the aftermath when that massive boulder rolls to the bottom of the valley and destroys the city, right? That city is your foot, and it presents in a way that's like kind of collapsed, kind of a bit dead, right? And
Stumpy,
yeah, just a bit kind of lifeless, just kind of looking at you like, what do you want from me? You're looking at me, but I'm just a city that's been crashed into by a bit of a meteor. Like, can you look at where the meteor came from, and can you look up the chain? So basically, he's saying the foot is that city that's been crushed, but the hip is where this issue is started, and we should probably look there to solve this problem we have with the feet. What would you say to that, G? What would you say to kind of the way I painted that? Would you you following?
Yeah, I follow you, man. Is so basically, if you got screwed up feet, is potential that the issue is actually coming from the hips.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so I'll try and flesh out that picture a little bit as well with some of my experience on this as well. So with the body works as a system. It's a system of systems, right? So we rudimentarily, say the musculoskeletal system is doing this, but it's not just musculoskeletal, it's neurofascial musculoskeletal. And what that basically means is, that in itself isn't complete as well, right? So you're just complex biological, I'm not even going to say machinery, but being, exactly. Complex biological machinery, if that helps you think of it that way. But this phenomena, this entity. And so there's a shit ton of stuff that you want to take into consideration. And one of the things that you want to think about is how the body works as a unit, works together to make you move forward. And because it's quite, because of the prevalent culture of bodybuilding, a lot of people took isolation and as the thing, as how you can train your body to do this with just isolation, and everything's all fine and dandy. But obviously, the further down, the further we've gone and figured out a lot more of the science around what's happening with the body as well, we realize actually that's not it's not a complete way of training. There's you want to consider the body as a whole rather than just the parts. So it makes complete sense then that if you've got a problem at the hip, that it can manifest itself as a problem at your foot, right? And there's a couple of reasons why you want to consider the importance of the foot. The first thing is your foot is providing a lot of sensory feedback to your body to tell you what it's doing in space, right? So when you're walking, around about 60-ish% of your time, two-thirds of your time is spent on one leg. Yeah, people don't necessarily think about that, but you're spending your time on one leg. And so then when you're running and sprinting, it's pretty much 100% of your time is spent on one leg. And, it doesn't, and it's like it might be a microsecond with each step, but that all builds up, right? It has a cumulative effect. And so if your foot isn't functioning very well, you'll do some funky things at the hip to compensate for it. Or if your hip isn't functioning very well, you will do some funky things at the foot to try and compensate for that, which is the stuff you were just alluding to. So a very common thing to see with people is that flat-footedness. So you have your hands are quite similar to your feet in the sense that your hands have an arch like your foot. So if you just imagine, I'm not going to pull my sock off and show you guys my foot. Anybody watching on YouTube,
do it.
Let's get the people with a foot fetish coming in, and then and then so like the hand can create an arch just like the foot. So if you just imagine this is the foot basically, and what ends up happening is if I'm dropping into the inside, that arch disappears, and that arch provides a structural integrity for the foot to load bear properly. And if it just drops in, it's not load bearing very well through your motion. And so people can get that on both sides, right? So if it's a one-sided thing, then generally speaking, you can look at it as a single-sided issue. You can look at it and say, okay, if it's just my left foot and I've got a dysfunction in the foot here, then I can probably trace it back up the chain if it's coming from there, and I will work out what the problem is there. But if it's a bilateral thing, i.e. both of your feet are doing the same thing and they're both flat, there's a general rule which is look to the core. Your core is your transmission, and it provides the appropriate energy transfer for your body to function properly. So if your core doesn't function properly, you can imagine you'll end up with shoulder problems or hip problems because there's a lot more force that they have to make up for at these joints because your core isn't doing the job it's supposed to. And you overuse the muscles, say at the shoulder or at the hip, and because your core isn't doing the job properly. So when it's a bilateral thing, both of your feet are dropping in, it's basically suggesting that you have a core issue going on. There's like a hip, pelvis, core issue that is a problem, and you want to really address that. So, and so I talked about how it's like the amount of sensory input you get into your body from your feet is basically telling you a lot about what's going on. So there will be people who argue that if there's a problem at the feet, you want to address it at the feet. And because of, we stand around on them, it's our gait, locomotion is like a fundamental thing that that is pre-programmed in our brain, and we start to express as we grow up from baby to toddler and start to learn how to walk properly. So there's a lot of that stuff is based on, let's look at what's happening at the feet so that we're taking care of the issues further up the chain. But then there's also people who talk about it from the other angle, i.e. your center of mass rest starts around the pelvis area. So if your center of mass is thrown off, then it will throw something off at the feet. So you want to look at what's going on at the hips and the pelvis and the lower back area to figure out how to correct what's happening at the feet. So
I suppose like
because there's
it's definitely like you could see it both ways, right? Like and I can see that a lot of people, when you get into the health and fitness space, people definitely come from the top down and from the bottom up, right? But just legit,
Yeah.
I've just thought of this, so I don't know if it's gonna work. But like, if I take my face mask here and I start, I think this being the hip, and I start rotating the hip, right? Shit starts changing down here too. You know what I mean? Like this is now dictated what this is doing down here. And G was talking earlier about like fascia and musculoskeletal system and everything else. It's all connected, right? It's like if I start changing what my core is doing or how tightly my core is wound or able to hold me, things are going to change down here. And at the same time, if I have this set, but I need to do more work at the hip, so more work at the foot, things will start changing up chain as well. You know what I mean? So it's almost like a multifaceted approach where we definitely look at the hip and we say, okay, right, we can do work there, but also doing things like bringing awareness to you that your foot musculature can have the potential to arch itself. So let's work at drills that cause you to just be aware of the muscles down there. Bring some feeling, bring some sensory input to the middle of your foot. Do you feel it? Not really. If I told you to try and crunch your toes together, do you feel anything? Yeah, it cramps up. Okay, cool. Let's work off of that. You know what I mean? And then from there, like G's talking about spending time on one leg, balancing on one leg. What happens? My hip starts burning. It's okay, sound. That's probably a good thing. You know what I mean? We want to build that out into you being able to balance on that one leg and see what that does down chain to your foot, and then also team it with, can we do some foot stuff so that we are able to support itself down there. You know what I mean? So there's these kind of like bottom down approach and a bottom up approach at the same time. You know, fair to say that.
Yeah. Top down, bottom up. Yeah. So yeah, approaching it from both angles basically. So what you can do is, depending on the kind of assessment, like for something to be practically applied by people who are listening, is like basically if you notice that you've got this issue going on, then you want to. It's always important, like, prevention is better than cure. We're not going to be the first people to say that. If you ever have an issue, if you notice that you've got some level of dysfunction, if you notice just a little niggle and it's a bit persistent, just get it checked out, please. Because
and that niggle can be like, sorry to cut in, but like niggle can be like, I got a knee problem, I have an ankle problem, or my foot hurts, or my heel hurts, my toes hurt, my hip hurts, which is one that I've experienced quite a lot. My right side hip. And G's helped me with this a few times. Like, it'll just feel quite stuck, and it'll feel quite kind of blocky, where the left side just like happy to do whatever, the right side just like stuck in the mud. You know what I mean? So obviously the conversation we're having right now is entirely linked to pelvis, core, and then running down into the femur, into the knee, into the shin, into the ankle, into the foot. So yeah, around there.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, in terms of practically usable information, if you've got these kinds of things going on, just get them checked out, because essentially it's just, there's a dysfunction there. And when I use the word dysfunction as well, I don't want people to think that you're fucked up. That's not what's going on. It's just your body's very, very smart at finding ways around any problems it has, so that you can keep functioning and keep moving forward. Right? It's like I talked about earlier. It's this magical biological machinery which will do what it needs to do to get you surviving and moving forward. So this is actually an excellent thing. I think that's one thing people it should really take away, is if you're experiencing those things, don't hate on your body. It's actually doing exactly what it needs to do to make sure you are safe and keep you moving forward. Exactly. So you start to experience these kinds of issues, is like, be thankful in a way, because I always look at any injuries that I pick up as information about where I'm weak and how I can get better. And I work on that, and then I feel like a better human being. I feel like a stronger human being after I've gone through that. And then it's like, okay, the next thing rears its ugly head, and then I'm like, all right, that's cool. All right, let's deal with that as well. So yeah, sometimes you can get a bit fed up with it, but actually it's just really teaching you an important lesson about just taking care of yourself and becoming a better human being and fulfilling, some level of potential that you have there. So get it checked out, have a look at it. And then based on, you want to be able to see somebody who's going to look at the whole picture as well, not just be like, okay, there's a foot problem, I'm just going to, like, some people might just massage it out, some people might just say, hey, just do this. But then actually seeing is like, through an assessment procedure, is like, okay, is this coming from here, is it coming from there?
Well, gee, who can check it out for you? We can check it out for you.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
anybody out there This is my line today. Anyway, I'm gonna
Yeah.
change my name to anybody out there, Brown, who's experiencing any kind of like knee, hip, ankle, core, one side core, my oblique on my left hand side doesn't feel quite stable. I get low back pain in my left hand side. Send it on in. Right, we can have a look at it. You know, I mean, we can have a look at like
Exactly.
maybe we'll ask you for a video of how you're walking, maybe a video of how you're breathing, and we can take it from there. You know what I mean? So yeah, listen to this podcast. You know somebody who's got this. I referral from my mum's driving instructing student whose husband has a frozen shoulder this week came in and saw me, and they're now he's kind of going through treatment for that. So it's everything you're saying. I think it's totally legit. But in regards to seeing somebody, I would obviously, if you know somebody around the local area and you trust them and whatever, go and see them. But I think we've had enough reps in this realm to be like, okay, that could be this. I mean, let me try and set you off on a trajectory to say that we can try and diagnose and say, okay, this could be a potential thing to flag up. And if we worked at making your core stronger with these exercises or those exercises, over time, this stuff's not going to rear its ugly head anymore. You know, I mean, you're going to be able to perform in the movements that you want to perform in. And personally, having had a hip problem, having had and then a subsequent knee problem, then that stemming into my ankle and stemming into my foot, it's not nice. You know, I mean, you can't do anything. I couldn't full depth squat for ages. Now I feel like I'm sitting in there like a baby and I'm happy because of checking the things up chain. And yeah, this is kind of an open invitation to people out there who feel like this stuff's plaguing you as well. Obviously, keeping it to this part of the body right now. We maybe open it up to other parts of the body in subsequent weeks of podcasts. So tune in for those as well.
Yeah.
But that stuff, yeah, let's start that discussion. So write in, DM, and get in touch. But I want to touch on one thing you said there, G. Like, analogize it for people the way I do for clients sometimes. Is like the way you said systems of systems, right? Like the body has this part of the body, has that part of the body, but it's all kind of working together, right? If you imagine it like a workforce, so like you have a team of staff that you have the geography teacher, the math teacher, the science teacher, the history teacher, English teacher, the PE teacher, right? If one of those parts of your body starts to slack, well, then the other teachers have to jump in and help out. So this could be what you're experiencing is, okay, say my hip musculature is a little bit weak. Well, now my knee has to take over. Well, my hip does a load of rotation stuff. That's its job. Its job is to teach history, but it's not teaching that history. So the kids are going to fail the exam, right? So now my knee has to start teaching history. It's like, oh shit, I don't know this stuff. Start stressing my knee out. All of a sudden my knee starts to hurt. It's like, oh, what the hell? I can't do this. I need my hip to wake up and teach about Henry VIII, right? That stuff is important. So the kids need to know it. You know what I mean? And that's
That was excellent,
really,
bro. That's
that's
excellent.
thank you, Braid. Thank you, Braid. I think that's me out for this week. That's the one analogy I can say. Okay, maybe that landed well. Hopefully, people, right? That's a simple way we can think about this, right? Like systems, and it's so complicated sometimes to get our head around this. But simply put, one part of the body might not be doing its job for whatever reason, right? So let's look at the people around it and see up chain, like we're looking at the hip, and down chain, looking at the ankle and the knee and the foot, and seeing whether we can strengthen one of these people and make sure that it's imparting the knowledge or imparting the support that it needs to support the body with, so that the other stuff doesn't have to overwork and in doing so gets injured itself. You know, so that's that can help kind of us think about this a bit more with a bit more calmness, in the sense that, okay, my knee hurts, sound, let's look up, let's look down, let's see what kind of what we have around this area to support that knee doing its job. You know what I mean? And then we just work from there.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah, well said, man. I really like the that analogy you hit. It worked. It's just like, taking over. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. It stresses out, and and just for people, it's like, just kind of respect what your body's telling you, and realize that when you work on these kinds of things, you're building up a reservoir of confidence in your body. Is that you have less and less to worry about. And I mean, poor movement, people who are hypermobile will understand this. If there's anybody who's listening who's hypermobile, they tend to have a higher level of anxiety, right? Mental anxiety. But it's because of the feedback they're getting from their body, that the body is basically saying, I'm not feeling stable. and therefore I'm going to translate this into a feeling of anxiety for your mind, and that's an actual thing. Again, brain body connection. It's not even like I don't know why anybody ever separated the two out whenever it happened, but yeah, the more we learn about the neuroscience of this stuff as well, the more we learn that there's that intrinsic connection. Your mind can tell you what's happening in your body, and your body can tell you what's happening in your mind, and 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 so if you have these issues and you just kind of let them build, and you're not really taking care of it, and you're not really thinking about it too much, there's a background level of noise, let's call it, that is always just there. It's the background level of like a little bit of anxiety that's always there, because you just don't feel like your body is functioning the way it needs to be functioning. You can put up with a lot, your body can buffer excellently, because mentioned earlier that it's just very, very good at making you survive and keep moving forward, but that's not an ideal place. No one wants to just survive. We're all about thriving here. So make sure that you are taking care of those little things. So if you notice something like that going on with your feet, and especially if you're noticing it with both of your feet, then if you want to become more, if you want to optimize, if you want to feel more confident in your body, if you want to take on your health and fitness goals with assuredness that you are going to be achieving something which is better for your body, rather than hammering out on a dysfunctional pattern and then having a setback, and then having another setback and having another setback, then go deal with it. It's important to deal with it.
Too right. And then, not to generalize, but sometimes you end up generalizing, right? Some people's bodies may just be formed in a way that that's you, right? Your foot may be flatter than somebody else. Not to say that you need to have a hyper arch in that foot, like me and my dad, for instance. My dad's got an arch, like you could park the Eiffel Tower underneath it, and it would be like, it would just legit. This guy's foot is like, I don't know, it touches the floor in three distinct places. Like his toes touch, his 4-foot ball touches of his foot, and then his heel touches. There's daylight between his feet. It's ridiculous, right? But then you look at my foot, and the whole outer side of my foot touches. Like, and I can say this is a true story. Back in the day, when, I don't know if they have these now, but back in the day, me, my dad, and my sister went to a Sports Direct, and shout out Sports Direct, providing cheap quality clothing solutions for the sportsman in need, right? And they had these like foot measuring boards, right? And the foot measuring board, you'd put your foot on it, and it would show you like the size of your foot, obviously the length of your foot, but also show you a heat pad of like where your foot touches. So it show your toes, and then you imagine like a predator's vision, right? Like the red and greens and the whatever, right? That kind of thing. And my dad put his foot on there, and it would show a brief outline, like where his foot just barely touches on the outside. It would show the main toes, and it would show the heel. My sister, same thing, and then I put my foot on there. And it was like a pad of mud, just like an elephant's hoof, just like stuck there, right? Because my foot was so flat, and my foot was flat because of a serious lack of expression happening at my hip. And now, over the years, I've realized that my hip was definitely contributing to my foot issues, because I'd spent a lot of time trying to work out my foot, but I was lacking the awareness, or lacking the strength or the stability at my hip, so my foot couldn't actually do what it needed to do. And this is why this approach, this top-down approach, bottom-up approach, is definitely, you can look at it two ways. You know what I mean? So some people, we can look at the foot and say, okay, all right, this is what we need to isolate. But with myself, it was particularly around the core and the hip. And I can still say to this day, my left side foot is like a normal foot. A right side foot isn't, because it's kind of a couple of years behind maybe in its kind of in its structure, and it's getting there. But this is the thing, is that I've genuinely seen, like we talked earlier a little bit about off air, I think we mentioned about how the brain can change depending on the thoughts, or depending on like neuroplasticity you're talking about. But the body also changes, right? Like we develop muscles in places, and all of a sudden I'm rounder than I was, I'm more defined than I was. And this is what I've seen with my feet, is that the time when my foot was totally flat is gone now, because my foot is arched, and it kind of holds itself in its structure because of the work I've done up chain on my hip. You know what I mean? And that could be the same for yourself as well. So do a little test. Look down at your feet. Tell me what you see.
Yeah. exactly.
If you can't see them, we got other problems.
Yeah, exactly. We've got two problems we need to solve.
Two problems we need to solve. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we can set it up, and that's important, I think. And yeah, for me personally, is like on my right side causes me more problems. Well, it causes me all the problems basically. I fractured my metatarsal, my like third metatarsal or something on my right foot when I was 16. And then when I was 22, I went in, no, I was 21, and I went and fractured my right right fibula, so like top of the right side of the ankle. And it was just like a tiny little fracture, just playing football. And yeah, so physically, I've recovered from those things. Like those injuries have healed, and but so we're talking 20, almost 20 years plus almost 14, 15 years. Those injuries haven't really shown themselves until kind of now, where I've purposefully, after a long time of not having this amount of consistent time training, I'm loading my body up more, and it's telling me more about where my weaknesses are. And the further I delve into that, so I would have a right hip, my right hip was an issue, then the right knee became an issue, and it was stemming from my right foot, because of those fractures. So even though those fractures and stuff have healed up, the neurological impact of them, i.e. my nervous system is holding on to the dysfunction that they created. And it's not because it's stupid, it's because it's like, hey, we've got to make sure that this area is protected, and it creates a compensation. And that compensation has lasted for as long as it but now that I'm loading my body up more, it's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer that is where one of the roots of my problems is. And so with the work that I've been doing with my osteopath, anybody in London, shout out to Backs Etc. down in Clapham, because they're just amazing. Lucky to find them, lucky to know them. And with the kind of work that they do is, most people will look at it as like it's unorthodox, but it's grounded in science, and it's like some seriously effective shit. And the further we've gone down into working out what my issues have been, is like, okay, hip, that's clearing up, knee, that's clearing up, and now it's just screaming out that is lower limb, it's foot, it's ankle, it's foot, it's ankle. I can feel how my body is just going, and my brain is just going, that's where your problem is, that's where your problem is, that's where your problem is, because I've cleared all this other crap out that was a result of like secondary and tertiary consequences of the initial injury that I'd picked up. Because I've never had a problem at my hip, and I've never had a problem at my knee. I've never injured those areas, but I injured my foot, and it was causing these upstream issues. Now, because the body is so sophisticated and complicated, it was creating those hip problems and knee problems. And once we started peeling away at those layers, started to realize it's coming from the foot, it's coming from the foot, it's coming from the foot, and have been working on that. And because it was such a long-standing injury, it's going to take a little bit of time to clear, but it's clearing. Each week I go and see her and see the osteopath, and it gets better, and it gets better, and it gets better. And but little by little, because I'm still putting my body under load as well. So I'm doing it in this kind of managed way, where it's like, all right, well, I still want to train, but I'm also going to work on this rehab every time before I train. 100%, I will not train without doing this rehab work. Otherwise, I'm just setting myself up for long-term failure. And so that also means that it will take me a little bit longer to recover, because I'm still loading myself up. But that's the conscious trade-off that I've made, and I'm happy with that, because I know I'm still moving forward, and I'm not going to train to the point where I'm going to screw myself up. So that's how important. That's from a personal experience. You shared your experience of like the hip being the problem with the foot, and I'm sharing my experience of my foot being the problem for the hip. And beautiful. The other way around, right? So we've got some beautiful
synergy. The synergy
there. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The synergy of fucked upness.
We're walking on the street all wobbly and wonky. It's okay. We're working on it, people. We're working on it. We're working with our nervous systems.
Exactly. That's it. And that's what it is. So, go find out those issues. And that was another point to be like, that's how important the foot is to how you function. And go sort that shit out.
Definitely, man. Definitely. I really like what you said there. You said something in passing, which is like, when we listen to Shallows and he just drops a line, And it's one of, we talked about this before. He just like throws it to the wind. But you're like, where did that go? I did that. That was the piece. That was the piece.
Yeah.
But it's you said to me about the nervous system kind of figuring it out and working with you on the problem. And I find that exercise is the way that I can access the nervous system. You know what I mean? Like, you talk about like, well, not just I, but everybody, right? And but sometimes it's like it's massage, it's like release in this sense, or really, or like acupuncture or whatever. But the means with which I found the most success, and I think Jordan Jinter did a post on this recently. He was like, in his opinion, it was like always strength. It's like strengthen and stabilize a segment of the body. Like the analogy that was like strengthen and stabilize this joint around it, like the structures that kind of feed into it, and you will definitely see your neurological system dampen in its grip. Because G talked about like the nervous system having a hold on your body because it's not certain that you're okay in this position, right? So it's like, I will step in and I'll look after you because we need to move forward, right? You touched on that earlier about how it's a survival machine. Like we are designed to just keep moving forward. And when we get a limp, cool, we'll figure it out. We're going to keep limping. That foot's going to turn into a stump, but we're going to keep dragging it along. But the nervous system's kind of dealing with stiffening you up or whatever. But we can almost access positions that expose us to this weakness, and then it's a case of starting off in a really slow progression to be like, okay, can you stand on one leg? Nope. Okay, cool. Stand on one leg, man. I'm gonna give you something to balance on. I'm gonna hold onto this wall, feel the floor, feel the hip, keep some kind of alignment that allows us to expose this area to a stimulus whereby we can make it work by itself, because we're not looking for this muscle to help out because that muscle's good. We're looking for that muscle to help out. That muscle's all right, but this guy needs to have the light shone in his face, and like the interrogation room police officer, where were you 6 p.m. on a Tuesday night? Like, like I need to know this, right? Like we need to get about finding out what this guy's doing, because he's not doing the right job clearly. And then it's slowly a case, okay, don't worry about it. We're gonna help you. It's not about chucking you in a jail cell and never talking to you again. It's a case of like, let's move forward together, get you in some kind of rehabilitation program, and eventually we can all be friends and we can all squat happily ever after. You know what I mean? That's the goal, right? And then you've got, like you said, you've got your own experience of that, and I've definitely got mine.
That's it, man. It's this. Yeah, I don't know. You kind of left me speechless, man. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. Sure. There was something. Damn it! There was something you said there that just kind of left me a little bit. You
think about that, because I think this little segment, I'm happy with how it's going. I hope listeners out there are happy with how it's going. But I really want people out there to send in your own ailments, your own kind of things that are plaguing your training, and we'll start cracking them out for you, because I think that we can definitely start offering perspective, if not treatment in a sense, to just help improve our knowledge, improve our understanding of our own bodies. And I think this is something that you touched on earlier. The common ground with both of us, even though you have a foot thing that's stemmed up, I have a hip thing that's stemmed down, is that we're quite interested in our bodies. We're looking at our bodies with a magnifying glass here and be like, why don't you listen to me? Like, we need to, like, we're not friends, right? This shit's not gelling. And that, I think, is such a key thing. I feel like this is a common trait amongst like clients I've trained in the past, and the ones that really get the result they want are the ones that go in and like question themselves and look at themselves with a real fine-tooth comb and figure it out. You know what I mean? Because the answer's there. It's just that you've got to start listening to the language that your body speaks, and really start understanding how to speak that same language.
The more function that you're able to access with your body, we talked about confidence. It's not just the confidence that improves, is that your quality of life improves. Just everything about it improves. It's just when did I say it? Probably said it often enough as well. But it's just the sole reason your brain exists is to navigate you through your environment. And how does it navigate? With your body. Literally, that's how it finds its way through. So if your body is not being used the way it needs to be used, you're not excelling. You're not doing well mentally, let alone physically.
No, it's like you said earlier. Like you said that the anxiety will cause you to feel a certain. Sorry, the hypermobility could cause you to feel a certain way, and it doesn't need to be hypermobility. It could be like a complete lack of stability causes you to feel really tight, and all of a sudden, like you can't even put your arm over your head. Whenever you try, it's like, oh god, this hurts, because that's the hang up we have. I mean, and Shallow says it all the time, right? He says that like the pain is the light on the dashboard. So your body being like, I like the kids sat in the class with hand in the air. It's like, go see to that kid, you know what I mean? Because they have a question or they have a problem, and they need our awareness to go there, you know what I mean? And this kind of little segue into this topic about the hip, about the foot, about the knee. I know, like personally speaking, I mentioned Sam on the podcast a few times. My client Sam, shout out to her. She started off with, like you talked about earlier, G. It wasn't quite both feet, but it was defo one, but the other one was kind of following suit behind it. And just in her example, I know she wouldn't mind me bringing this up, it was definitely related to her core not being, I don't want to say not being aligned because it's subjective to whoever people are, but it just wasn't supportive of the human being. This area of her body wasn't trained to a level where it could provide any kind of structural, so any kind of functional stability. Don't worry about the word functional or understanding it, but like, is your core giving you what it can give you? In her case, no. And we saw that displayed in her hips, feeling like shit all the time, couldn't sit on the floor cross-legged, couldn't stand for too long, just generally in pain. And like G's talking about, that level of anxiety was constantly there with her body, where hips hurt, low back hurts, knees hurt, feet hurt, everything hurts. Like, oh shit, well, there's lights everywhere. This walk into a classroom, all the kids got their hands in the air. It's like, fuck, okay, right, we got some work to do, right? That's the problem. But yeah, over time, she's worked through core progressions, she's worked through hip stability progressions, she's worked through feet progressions in regards to just bringing her awareness to areas, and lo and behold, she's doing back squats now. So it's like wicked, you know what I mean?
Power.
And she's 20 kilos body weight down. So it's like, okay, like life is pretty good. You know what I mean? These that's the way it works. You know what I mean? So if you're out there listening to this, it's great. I was literally talking to my brother-in-law about this morning and saying that you'll be so surprised when you realize that this code that I can definitely say that I've been made way more confident with through studying under Jordan Shallow and Prescript Level 1, and Nick Daniel and Rebel Fitness, Fitness Rebels, that this like understanding of how the body works and fits together and talks to this and look at that guy and see if he's helping out. That stuff, it's we can all relate to it. It's not that difficult to understand, I don't think. So yeah, if you've got any problems out there, we can definitely talk about it.
Yep, and don't wait for pain, because pain is way downstream of the existence of a problem. So if you're experiencing pain, then you needed to deal with it yesterday. So see to it before it gets to that level.
Yeah, see to it before it sees to you.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
Well, yeah. What's the Jordan Peterson line? Like, go visit the dragon before it comes to your village. Go visit its lair before it comes to your village, right? It's like just step out on the pain before the pain comes for you.
Exactly. There's a great line from Kelly Starrett. He would be like, "Don't enter the pain cave."
Oh
you don't want to go into the pain cave.
I love it. I love that. Yeah, man. Just go get off. It's like get on the front foot. Don't be on the back foot.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That's it.
Yeah, I love that.
Exactly.
I love that.
Be proactive, not reactive, because it's just. Because here's the thing about it as well. Again, like from a philosophical point of view, is when you're in pain and you get out of it, you're so much more thankful. You're so much more grateful. You're like, wow, this was awful, and I'm a million times better now. If you're not in pain, but you sort out the issue before it becomes painful, you're kind of like, I don't know. You just never think of it as something that could have ever been a problem, and you don't feel like you're actually doing something for yourself in a way. because it's not like you've taken yourself from a hell and put yourself into a heaven. It's like you may have been on your way to hell, but you couldn't really tell, but you could tell to a little degree, and then you started fixing it, and you just make sure you never get to hell. You're just kind of like, all right, I'm just kind of plodding along. So it never feels as rewarding, basically, in that sense, because you're just never in that much. You're never in your hell, so you don't worry about being in a heaven. But that's where you actually have to. That's where you actually have to take action. Is that place where you feel like you don't need to, but that is in this case that is the place where you need to take action. It's about being proactive rather than reactive. Because if you're reactive, yeah, sure, you're so much more grateful for getting function back and feeling optimal again. But how long could that road be? How troublesome could that journey be? How up and down can it be? How much pain do you ever want to be in? Generally, the answer to that last question is no. So prevent it from ever happening, and you'll be much better off for it.
Too right, bro. You give me some ideas here, man. I'm gonna share them with you when we get off air, because this ain't ready. You ain't ready for these. Evolve Achieve Thrive listeners are not ready for this yet. There's fire. There's fire coming. There's fire coming. Yeah.
Savage fire coming. You can't. You're not privy to it yet. It's just we got to package it in a way where it won't blow your mind.
Yes. No, but in all seriousness, I hope people out there can relate, and if there's people in your life, maybe it's not you, pass this information forward and help them. You know what I mean, it will help them help themselves by just giving it over, and we can take conversations from there. But that's my our little spiel on the hip and foot and all that stuff. So if you've got any questions, defo ask, because again, like I said, I don't think this stuff's that complicated. I think people maybe I've made it sound complicated in some ways, or maybe we can explain it better, but I really feel like it's a human requirement to know about your body. And this is one of the things that motivates me to be a personal trainer. It's like I am a purveyor of information about the body. Like I take pride in knowing and take pride in spreading that information, and that's what this is all about, right? I know G's is exactly the same in that sense. Like, and I don't think it's okay for clients of mine not to know. You know, there's like kind of some clients that just want to show up to sessions and just kind of get beasted. It's like, come on, we're better than that. We're just so much better than that. Like there's something in your life that's not giving you the stuff that you want it to. So you want me to come and like massacre you every week on a Tuesday lunchtime. It's like, no, this is not all right. I mean, you know, we can do that, but let's do it in a way where we're both understanding what's actually going on. Like, are we not just are we avoiding learning? Are we avoiding leveling up a little bit? That's not okay. That's just not okay. You know what I mean, not by my definition of what I would like to express as my coaching to the world. And I don't know, G, what would you say to that?
Yeah, it can be to your own ideal, but whatever that ideal is I'm pretty sure is going to involve having physical health.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have it, you can't express yourself to the degree that you want to. And I mean, if you want me to get kind of sciencey about it as well, get the
tables.
Yeah, I'll start putting out like my Goodwill Hunting chart over here or something like that, and just start freaking drawing some shit. But like, look, the part of your brain that coordinates movement is also involved in your emotions, right? So what does that tell you? That tells you that if you're working on your movement, that you'll regulate your emotions as well. So you have to do that. You have to be able to take care of your body, to take care of your mind. And even if all your endeavor is just intellectual, even if all you do is like, you know, sit in front of it, like Umar's brother-in-law, who's computer guy, like one of a few who's the best in the world at what he does. He's got even a special tag for it. He's going to be better at what he does, even though it's completely sedentary based, because he's going to be because he's taking care of his physical health, and because you're able to, from a emotional perspective, you're taking care of that. There's the cognitive perspective as well. It's like, you improve your memory retention because you're physically fit. You improve your clarity of thought because you're physically fit. In which situations do you not need those things? None. So you need those things in every situation that you kind of find yourself in. So
Fucking right, bro.
that's it.
Validate that shit.
Human requirement,
shit.
like you said, human requirement.
Yeah, that's it. You don't get to not know this shit. We it's like you. I don't get this. Like, I don't get driving into work when we did that back in the day, and being in the car park, and you see people with like 20 plate Benzes and friggin' Maseratis, and you got a Merc over there, and you got a BM over here, and you got a Porsche and a Mustang over there. But then you get out of it, and you're just some, like, I'm sorry, like, you've not got any physical issue, you've not got a disease, you've not got a health issue that you can't control. You just let your body get to a place where it's struggling, right? And okay, I can't talk because I've been there, but at the same time, I definitely pulled myself out of that, right?
Yeah.
But it makes no sense to me that that to me is like, we're buying this to kind of to shout over the fact that we're not doing the work over here. You know what I mean? And that's not okay. That's not okay. Not for you right now. And what seeds you kind of sowing for those people around you to be like avoidant of these issues. It's it's definitely, there's work to do. Don't worry about how big the mountain is, right? We talk about this when we start talking about philosophy and everything else. Just start taking that step toward it, and you're gonna feel better. Like you talked about so many times today, how it's linked to your emotion, how your movement is linked to your, what did you say, Jay?
Yeah, emotions.
Your emotions, yeah. So your movement's linked to your emotions. I can attest that so much, man. Like, even the littlest bit of, I don't know if one of the weeks I described a J step and an L step. I think it was when Emily was on, and just doing that makes me feel better, man. Legit, just like doing it to know makes me feel better. And me and TJ talked about this one week where we say we'll be in a situation where we're gonna do a bit of sparring, and there's a level of anxiety because it's like, oh shit, I'm about to get punched in the face, or I'm about to get taken down, or this stuff could happen to me, and all of a sudden you get, oh my god, and before you know it, you can get a bit of fright, you can get a bit of like, I don't know what I'm about to do. All of a sudden you start freezing, all of a sudden you're not throwing any jabs, all of a sudden you're getting hit, and it's like, what do I do now? But you know what the antidote to that is? Step forward, step back 2 times. Step forward, step back 3 times. Okay, cool. Oh yeah, my feet are moving. Brilliant. Put a hand behind it. Bang. Oh, wicked. I landed a jab. Oh, I just put it out there. Perfect. What? You got another hand too? Yeah, right hand. There you go. Okay, now we're cooking. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's like alchemy. You know, we're just making shit now. Like, now it's okay. Now it's on. Like, the oven's burning and we're forging shit, right? That in itself, what you said earlier, that's going to stay with me. And we talked about it. It's so funny. We talked about it before we came on air. And I said, I need to start listening to the science side of things and keeping that in my mind more, because it reinforces stuff, right? And you've said it now, and I've related it back to how it actually helps. It's like, okay, shit, this is why I feel so good when I move. And it could be literally as simple as, I'll be sat down for an hour and 50 minutes now. When I stand up, I'll do a little bit of jigging, and I was like, okay, shit's all right with the world. You know what I mean? That's so legit, bro.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll throw more of that fire at you guys. Keep it coming with why and how it's important for your body, for your physical potential, for your endeavors, for just life. You know, it's like, this is why you need this shit.
Love it. Should we call the day there?
It's a good time. It's a good time to call it.
Wicked. Hope you enjoyed that, people. Plenty more where
that was great.
From.
Exactly. There's plenty more. Week on week, baby. We appreciate everybody tuning in as well. So as Zumar has mentioned several times through the podcast today as well, just get in touch, people. Tell us what you liked about the episode. Tag us in anything that you share through Instagram on @Evolve Achieve Thrive, and send in like some of the things that you've noticed about your body and anything that you might need some assistance with. Just hop on Instagram, send us a DM, or drop us an email at it's evolveachieveThrive@gmail.com. And we want to hear from you, and we want to help you as best as we can. So and like we said, watch this space. Imminent good stuff coming with regards to a community.
That's it. That's
Community
going to be
for
exciting.
Evolve, Achieve, Thrive. Yeah, man.
That's going to be super exciting. And it's going to be a
Exactly.
forum in which there'll just be mad, crazy discussions about cool shit. And yeah, excited to see where that goes, because I
Yeah.
feel like we talked about earlier, it's super necessary, and we're about to bring it to the people, right?
100%. Exactly. And one final word as well. We had Assemble Brown. Didn't say anything about my name. I wasn't really prepared. As soon as I saw Assemble Brown, I wrote Avengers Brown. That's about as much thought I went into it this week.
Props to you for being that honest, bro. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
I was
That
literally thinking, I was just like, all right, I'll come up with something. There's something in my week. And then I saw your name. I was like, fuck it, Avengers Brown.
but bro, do you know what? I was sat here 2 minutes before the podcast being like, this is the only one thing in my mind. There's only one thing in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm trying to piece. Some weeks there's like abundance of names. Like Monday will give me a name. Wednesday
Yeah.
will give me a name. And I get to Sunday. I'm like, oh fuck, I got no name. But today it was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, there's only one.
Exactly.
So
Just gotta make a note of them. But that's
yeah,
it
you're right,
exactly,
bro.
man. Yeah. Avengers Assemble, and that's actually quite fitting. Talking about the whole community thing as well.
Too
So
right, too right. And
Avengers
that
will assemble.
that foot and that hip's gonna assemble, and then
Exactly.
we're gonna be squatting all day.
Exactly. We're set. All right, people. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time. And
Take it easy, people.
we won't see you, but you can hear us next time.
Yeah.